Hello, welcome to session two, lesson number two. And today's lesson is around empathy. And empathy being an essential leadership skill. It's amazing how often empathy plays a part in how you actually run and develop an organization. It is so important that it might be the most important thing you learn throughout this program. And it's something you can learn if you're not good at it, if you're not used to practicing empathy, if you need work at it, basically. So this session helps you identify when and how you practice empathy, what it is, how useful it is, and just exactly what it does for you as a leader and how it impacts your organization. And it's unfortunate. It falls under the term soft skills. And I hate that term because always all the soft skills are the hardest things to learn, right? And the hardest thing to practice. And usually they take the most courage to bring forth as a leader in your organization. So soft skills, I think they came up in the old school when people were actually afraid of soft skills. And so they gave it a name to not view it as so important. It is hugely important. Everything you do as a leader requires soft skills these days, especially the modern leader. Um, and empathy is included in that. Empathy, practicing empathy as a leader impacts so many things. It impacts your culture. It impacts building relationships with your staff. It impacts being the example you are for your organization. It impacts how you view your people and how you include them as part of the big mission, if you will, that you're working on. It actually solidifies to your people that they are part of the organization on a big level, on a high level, an essential part of the organization. It acknowledges them that way. And so when you are empathetic with somebody and dealing with them on an empathetic level, you reinforce that number one thing that people want and need in their job, and that's to be part of something larger than themselves. So it's hugely important. You can learn it, you can get better at it as well. But let's go right into it right here. Let's dive into the session two here. Empathy and essential leadership skill. And this is a shorter session, by the way, but it's full of lessons and ripe for growth and actually being the example that you need to be as a leader. So it is one of the most important business skills you can have today in the world. And most leadership gurus will let you know that and not be bashful about that. And it's something that you need to work on all the time. No matter how empathetic or self-aware you are, there's always some other level to take that, right? And being empathetic is definitely being mindful of how you're being at your organization and self-aware of that you are practicing empathy, especially at times when empathy is hard. So it's I won't get into the psychoanalyst Carol Rogers description of it. I'll try to keep it more simple for me, if nothing else. So when we empathize with another person, we actually put ourselves in their shoes, practicing feeling how what they might be feeling being in those shoes, and then operating from that vantage point. It's not jumping into the problem, it's understanding what the problem is. And it's very important to understand that there's a separation there. You don't have to be part of the problem, you have to observe the problem. And by that observation and that mindfulness, you can actually make really um, sophisticated decisions, intuitive, if you will, on how to bring that person out of that situation. So the thing to remember is that empathy is not sympathy. It's often confused, and sympathy is necessary many times. Most times, when something's gone wrong with an employee or a situation has gone bad, whatever it is, sympathy is usually step one. Sympathize, right? The problem a lot of leaders have is that they stay in sympathy because again, it takes a little bit of courage to gently inspire and walk people out of feeling sorry for themselves or feeling sorry for the situation, right? But sympathy is powerful because it builds that bond. It makes it clear that you're there to help them and that you're practicing understanding. So sympathy is great for some time. And how long that is, you'll have to really make that determination. Often people stay in sympathy because it's easier, right? and it makes them sound good, and it makes them sound popular, and it's an easier thing to do, believe it or not. So a lot of industries, especially the service industries, the caring industries, nurses, social workers, um, often they're in cultures that really applaud a lot of sympathy. And not saying that that's a bad thing. It's only a bad thing if that's all you rely on. And so sympathy is the first step to helping, inspiring, and empowering somebody up the ladder, if you will, to a point where they can start discussing with you how they might be able to correct, help, and solve this, and how you might be able to help them. So I love this example right here. It's very simple, but it's very powerful at the same time. So here's the example. A man fell into a large hole. I hate when I do that. An uncaring person walked past, looked down, and told the man how silly he was to find himself in the hole. A sympathetic person walked past and, feeling sorry, jumped in the hole with them. That's the dilemma. It's okay to jump in the hole if you can get out, right? And that's the thing, because you got to help that person get out of the hole. An empathetic person walked past, saw both the hole dwellers, and, having ascertained that neither really wanted to be in the hole, fetched a ladder and helped them out. That is empathy. It allows you to see the situation, be sympathetic to the situation, keeping your mind and keeping your space, knowing that you are the leader who's got a job, and help somebody out of that situation. It does all those things I spoke about earlier. It is the example you set for your organization. It's powerful, powerful, powerful stuff. Soft skill be damned. It's just not really that. So how you respond clearly is big, right? And we're all smart people. So instead of saying it doesn't look so bad when somebody gets hurt, or stop crying, you're putting most of this on yourself. I bet that feels sore, doesn't it? Is actually a way to say, oh, I get what's going on there. And most of us have been in situations where we understand what it's like to be in a tough situation or a bad situation. So it's easy to jump there. You can't stay there, but use sympathy is step one. Then you actually walk them up the ladder through possibility, inspiration, and finally empowerment, coming to agreements and helping them hold that agreement for themselves and for the organization. Really powerful stuff. You're going to want to practice this starting immediately. This whole section, if you will, is about emotional intelligence and empathy. It is that important. And you will be practicing that through your homework, a lot of that through your homework. So be aware of that. And you can start being empathetic right now. Right now. So practice speaking to people, seeing what's going on. That's part of your homework, actually. Maybe providing sympathy when it's needed, and see if you can exercise leadership and helping that people out of that hole to being free from that hole. It takes some intuition. It's usually something you cannot rush. It is you being above the fray, and it's you being the example, setting tone and setting context and culture for your organization. So thank you so much. Have a great time with this session, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session. Have a great one.